I think it's going.
It says on my thing live on Facebook.
Does it say that? Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. Lovely, lovely. Thank you very much. So welcome, welcome. As I said, this is an area that I feel particularly passionate about because it's something that's very close to home. So I'm just going to mute everyone, so then any noise you don't need to worry about. And I'm just going to share a few slides because I just want to make sure it's as visual as possible. So we're going to start with, I just want to start with the foundations of wellness. And so what we're really wanting to do today, what I would really like to do today, is to inspire you and empower you to kind of take that ownership. And I think particularly during pregnancy, especially if it's a first time pregnancy, you're not necessarily feeling like you're in control or have ownership over your body some of the time. And so you have all these healthcare professionals who kind of, you know, take you around. And so it's a really special time to be able to take that ownership of your health and well-being, particularly at this time where you've got other people who are involved who might feel that they know better. And so I want to give some of that control back to you because mother does know best. And although we always get advice from healthcare professionals, our intuition is really, really powerful. And so this is the same in everyone's lifestyle, so all the time, but particularly during pregnancy, is that we need to look at what the foundations of wellness are. And we know that the first building block is eating right. You know, getting some exercise is really important. Resting and managing our stress. We know that this can have a huge impact on the baby, on the development of the baby, but also on then what kind of levels of cortisol that the baby might have once they come out as well. And reducing our toxic load, because everything that we have on or in our bodies goes onto our baby. So we know that this becomes even more important, and often we do end up paying more attention to what's happening on our bodies when we are pregnant, and that's brilliant. It's a really good exercise in in clean living as well. And then when things do go slightly wrong, when maybe hay fever comes and hits us unexpectedly. I've never had hay fever until my third pregnancy. That's the first time I'd experienced it, and there was something I could do about it, which normally using kind of standard healthcare strategies, there's nothing really you can do about it. So we can be proactive using these essential oils. Now, before I go any further, I really want to drive home that I am only talking about doTERRA essential oils to support you and your baby, because they are natural, they are safe, and they're highly effective. So please don't go away and use other essential oils in the way that I'm recommending, particularly during pregnancy and for babies, because everything's more sensitive and you can create quite a lot of damage. So now we're all on the same page that we're talking about doTERRA. So let's start with that first building block, which is nutrition. And so the Lifelong Vitality Pack for me was an absolute godsend, because I knew I was flooding my body with nutrients every single day. And I knew that I was really giving myself those absorbable compounds. So often you get talked, you hear about folic acid levels. And so as soon as you get pregnant, are you taking your folic acid? And so that was the first thing I checked, because I was already taking Lifelong Vitality Pack. Do I have enough folic acid in there? There is no folic acid in the Lifelong Vitality Pack. It's folate, which I then looked at what the difference was between the two. It turns out folic acid is the synthetic version of folate. Folate is what we find in our food. So which one do we want, the synthetic one or the natural absorbable one? I definitely would like the natural absorbable one, and that's why in terms of the levels, it was perfect and it was exactly what I needed. So I didn't need to take any extra. And so it has everything that we need, but not just everything that we need. It has those things that will allow our baby's brain to develop well, because it has those fish oils in there. So it has a huge amount of superfoods that's helping with cellular energy. Anyone else feel really tired during pregnancy? This can really help you to have a little bit more get up and go. And don't get me wrong, you'll definitely feel tired if it's exhausting stuff creating a human being, particularly at the very beginning. But this definitely gave me much more energy, particularly in those later stages for the last 2 trimesters. So one of the things that I experienced was during my first 2 pregnancies was pelvic girdle pain, which used to be called symphysis pubis dysfunction. And with the 3rd, I didn't have any of that. And there's a few things that I would highlight, and I know from who I've seen, you've all had your babies already, so this isn't as relevant. But there's a book that I will share with you at the end, and she recommended no sugar, no dairy, and no gluten during pregnancy. And having had some very complicated pregnancies with my first 2, and then having had some pelvic damage that caused me to be in a wheelchair after my 2nd, I was very careful with making sure I took care of myself with the 3rd. And this was a massive part of, including my diet restrictions. So I had no sugar, no refined sugar, no dairy, and no wheat. And I took the Lifelong Vitality Pack and a few other things I'm going to share with you. And it was by far my best pregnancy. Now, that is a huge deal, having been told not to have another baby because I would end up in a wheelchair again. This is a huge deal. So please don't underestimate how much support these supplements can give your body at that moment when you need it the most during pregnancy. So that's the Lifelong Vitality Pack, which is a supplement pack that's designed to be taken every day. Then you've got supporting your digestive system. Now, during pregnancy, again, everything you eat goes to your baby. First to your baby and then to you, which you probably already know. The baby takes the first, the best, and then we get the rest. As opposed to when you're feeding, you take first and then they get the rest. So it's equally important when you're feeding to have really good nutrition. So Terrazyme is digestive enzymes. So this is supporting you to really get the most out of your nutrients out of your food. And it's also helping to avoid any gut irritation, because any foods that you might find harder to digest. So if you are having dairy, it has lactase in there. It also has protease. So it's helping you to break down the proteins in your food so that you're really getting as much out of your food as possible. Another part of it is this PB Assist with its probiotics. Yes, I did take all of these during pregnancy, and you can see aids in filling the colostrum with lots of good flora for your baby's stomach. So this is more during feeding for the colostrum, or just after giving birth. But this is happening throughout your pregnancy, that you're getting a good balanced gut flora, so that you can then pass that on to your baby as well. And that's really, really important. Now, in terms of your physical well-being, there's a few oils. So this is varied, and there's such a huge area to cover because there's such a range of things that come up during pregnancy. But ginger, which you'll all know what ginger's for, as soon as you're feeling sick, everyone goes, oh, have a ginger biscuit. But ginger is really, really powerful for nausea and indigestion. You can put that in a glass of water and drink it. You can put it in a jug of water and then pour a glass out of it and drink it. So it can be super gentle. I personally didn't like that very much. I preferred the peppermint. So I used peppermint in fizzy water, and that really calmed my nausea really, really well. But equally, some of the things from just before, the Terrazyme and the probiotics can be really powerful in decreasing the nausea as well, because you're increasing the level of protein that's coming into your bloodstream through the digestive enzymes. So that has been found to reduce the amount of nausea as well, particularly in things like hyperemesis, where increasing the levels of protein and good gut bacteria can have a huge impact on that. So peppermint's fantastic. So these are the two that I use the most, but also for fatigue. So if you have another child and you have to do the school run, but you really just want to curl up and get into bed, this is a really, really good way to just put a drop on your hands. If you have your peppermint, grab your peppermint and put some in your hand, and you can totally go ahead and rub your hands together and take some deep breaths. Now, before, I caution you, if you're at the beginning of breastfeeding, then you won't want to be having a lot of peppermint. 1 drop every so often won't interfere, but lots of peppermint, if you're consistently using peppermint, then it can interfere with your milk supply and reduce your milk supply, so which is we obviously don't want. So just be aware of that. As I say, 1 drop on your hands every so often won't do that, but if you're taking it daily, then you wouldn't want to do that, so you would use something else. something like spearmint, for example, which is lovely. But it's also very effective for head tension. So we're focusing on pregnancy for now, and then I'll move on to more babies, but just as a side note. So if you've got head tension, which can be something that comes along, hormonal head tension, you can put some peppermint over the top of your head, rub it on your temples, on the back of your neck, and just take some deep breaths, and that's really, really effective for that. Heartburn is something that comes up quite a bit of Zengest. So we will put a carrier oil on your chest and then add a drop of Zengest to your chest and rub that in. This is the same when you're not pregnant as well, but obviously this comes up more when you're pregnant. Digestive issues tend to become quite at the forefront for pregnancy. There's lots of pressure going on in there. And so constipation can be also a problem. Now, putting a drop of Zengest in a glass of water and then drinking it really, really can support just keeping that flow going, keeping things moving. One, because it's soothing the digestive tract, but also it's just calming everything down and helping it to just flow the way it should be. So reducing any spasms that could create issues and blockages. So this is for any sort of digestive discomfort. Zengest is incredible for that. Deep blue is for muscular aches and pains. So often we end up with maybe shoulder pain or back pain, lower back, particularly in those later months. So putting a carrier oil again on your back and then a drop of deep blue. What I love to do is to make a little jar with some coconut oil, and then that allows me to make a little cream. So I'll have a carrier oil and melt it down. Usually I use coconut oil, the hard white coconut oil, and melt it down so it's liquid, add 20 drops of deep blue to a small jar, mix it round, then let it set in the fridge, and then I've made a little cream that I can just rub on my back or get my husband to rub on my back, and that's really lovely to just feel that melting away. You can get it in a roller bottle, so if you're doing it for yourself, then that might make it a little bit easier, but it's phenomenal for just soothing those achy muscles. Now, when I get to babies, I'm more going to be focusing on babies. So just as a side note, this is a godsend when you're feeding, whether it's bottle or breast, because this position can be quite uncomfortable for that length of time. So your shoulders can become rock hard. So deep blue on the shoulders in the evening is amazing, absolutely amazing. And you just feel it just releasing that tension. So deep blue is a really lovely one before and after you've given birth. Emotional well-being. Now, this is a huge part of pregnancy, is our emotions can be all over the place. And so lavender is calming for everything. So whether it's skin or emotions, it's everything calming and soothing. So lavender is a brilliant one to just, you can rub it in your hands, take some deep breaths. You can put it in a diffuser and just have that going in your room in the evening time, particularly. It would be really effective to just help with sleep. I love to combine the lavender with the wild orange in the evening. So a drop of each in my hands, and then taking some deep breaths in and then putting it in the diffuser. It's a really nice way to just give you that emotional lift. So what this is doing is decreasing cortisol levels. So lavender helps to decrease cortisol levels, and wild orange stimulates the release of dopamine and serotonin. So these are your happy substances. So this is a really, really beneficial thing for you to be able to, inhale these oils so that you can have those positive feelings, and really so uplifting. This balance in the middle, I think every mummy needs balance. I think it doesn't do it justice when it goes, evokes feelings of tranquility and balance. It's basically helping you not to lose it. So when those moments where you feel like it's all just a bit too much, balance is amazing. So balance, I usually have that on a diffuser necklace or a diffuser bracelet, and my children now recognize that if I'm smelling my bracelet, mummy just needs to calm down. But it's so effective. It's lots of tree oils, and we know that trees are very grounding, and so that's what you have in this bottle, is lots of tree oils that are very soothing and grounding. And that's exactly what this does. It helps you to not lose your, flip your lid. And so during pregnancy, really lovely to, again, either diffuse it. I often again combine it with wild orange. I love wild orange. So the two together again is really, really beautiful. But the emotional support that you can get during pregnancy is phenomenal. This is also one of the ones I had in my birth bag and diluted in a roller bottle that I was rubbing on the back of my back during labour. And actually it was the only one I got to doing because it was too fast. I didn't get to do all my other ones that I'd prepared. But that one was a really lovely one to be able to just support myself naturally. And I would have been using it on my hands had I had a chance to, but they were all still in the car in my 3-minute labour. So that was the emotional support during that. It is so powerful. Now let's move on to your baby. Now I know this is a bit of a whistle-stop tour, and I will share my best reference guide that I will share with you so you can get more of that information for yourself. But I just want to give you a little picture of some of the ones that you can start using now for you and your baby. So in terms of, these are just some of the key issues that tend to arise a lot: colic or tummy troubles. 1 drop of Zengest with a carrier oil on their tummy, so then you can massage in a clockwise direction, always clockwise, up and over and round like a rainbow, because that's the way it needs to travel. You can put a drop of lavender on the spine or on the balls of the feet as well. So they're really, really supportive for, again, calming things down. So in the same way as we would use it, you can rub it on your tummy as well as when you're pregnant or as an adult. But definitely for babies, you would rub it on their tummy or on the soles of their feet. It's been phenomenal, incredible results, particularly for babies because they're so sensitive. Now this will always be diluted. So you're using less than a drop at a time because usually you're pre-diluting it in a roller ball. So if you don't already have some empty roller bottles, I don't have them in with me. If you don't, here we go. If you don't already have some roller bottles, I would recommend getting some roller bottles so that you can then make your own blends. Not necessarily creating your own blends, but diluting your own. You can get them pre-diluted as well. But if you have the bottles already, you can just dilute it with your carrier oil. So this allows you to have a ball that you can just roll it on your baby much more easily, especially when they get a little bit more wriggly. So the other thing is teething. Actually, before I move on to teething, so the Zengest, if you do have a baby who's particularly colicky, apply it every time they have a feed, and then you can then support them to be able to get that out. I would recommend that if you have a baby who is really having a lot of colicky problems, then start looking at your diet if you're feeding them, or what's in the milk in terms of, we know that there can be lots of issues sometimes with the protein in milk. So that can sometimes be some of the area. Having had that with my first, we had hours of burping and winding. I didn't have any oils, and he has an allergy to dairy and wheat and soya, as it turns out, which I didn't know about. But obviously this was creating a lot of digestive issues. So I would definitely say if it's something that's recurring and that's substantial and that's creating more trouble, I would look a little bit deeper, and also don't necessarily expect your healthcare professional to recommend removing things, because they don't necessarily do that very quickly, and it can take months and months and months to get to there. So you can start looking at it yourself, and track what's creating the reactions as well, just on a little side note. So if we're now looking at teething, which we know everyone has to go through, every baby, so the two that I tend to use the most was lavender and Roman chamomile, and diluted in a roller ball was so effective, just rolling it on the jawline on the outside, and again, it was absolutely amazing to be able to see the difference. I've now done this with 2 babies because I got these oils just after I had my second, and it was amazing actually. And I did use Roman chamomile on my finger with a little bit of carrier oil and rubbed it inside her mouth as well. It's kind of a sweet, gentle flavour, so it doesn't bother them at all. They kind of just and that worked really well as well. Copaiba is a newer oil, so that wasn't around for us to use, but it's excellent for anything pain related, so including teething. So you can rub that on the outside of the jawline as well, or on the back of the neck. So really supportive for that pain relating to teething. The other one that I haven't put on here is On Guard. So On Guard has clove in it. It would be heavily diluted, so you would only put 1 or 2 drops in a 10 ml carrier bottle, and then roll it on the jawline. As again very effective, because that clove is a natural analgesic, so it numbs the pain as well. So that's very effective as well. So if that's one of the oils that you have, you can totally use that oil as well. So fever, there will come a day where they will pick something up and then their little body will be fighting really hard, and they'll end up with maybe a temperature. And so this is one of my favorite aspects of this, is that I don't have to reach for Calpol, and I haven't reached for Calpol for a very long time, because there's something I can do that is going to support their little bodies to not get overheated, but that's not going to do any damage at all. And yes, I am totally saying that Calpol does have, there is some damage that comes along, and it's not highlighted because it's not a big impact, but it will be little by little creating damage, and that's a known factor, that paracetamol does have some damage each time. So peppermint is a really lovely way, applying a carrier oil on the spine, 1 drop of peppermint, 1 drop of lime, and just rubbing it up and down the spine, and it reduces that fever. What I tend to do is that I will take the temperature. If I see that it's over 39, then I will put my oils on, and then I'll check it again half an hour later. If it's reduced, then I'll leave it like that, and then check again in an hour. If it's not, then I'll put another drop on. So you can reapply. Don't be scared to reapply. You can totally reapply. And it's so effective. I absolutely love. This is one of my favorite things about being able to use this, knowing that I'm having 0 negative impact on my baby. The other thing that comes up a lot is dry skin or nappy rash or eczema. It can be on any part of the body, and lavender and Roman chamomile. So you can add that to a carrier oil or a baby moisturizer. I would just always go for unscented and as natural as possible, with none of those nasties like parabens and things like that, so that you can add these oils to your moisturizer or your oil and just rub it all over them. One of the things that we started doing was just putting a spoonful of coconut oil, the hard coconut oil, into the bath, adding the oils into the bath, and then they came out and they were already had moisturized skin, and it was really effective, actually, particularly if you have more than 1 child. Chuck them all in the bath, they all get coated in the lovely coconut oil and the essential oil as well. We didn't use soap for a really long time, because that was one of the issues that came from the allergies, was the eczema, but we have started using this hair and body wash that doTERRA created especially for children, and it's super gentle, and it's no tears as well, so you can totally use this on your baby, on your children, on yourself. I use it as a face wash as well. So this is a brand new one that's just come out in June, actually, so it's now available if you would like it. There's also a nappy rash, so it's called diaper cream. It's a nappy rash cream in English. And so that's a really lovely one, because it has no nasties in there, and it's really just helping to create that barrier between the skin and and the wee in their nappy. So that's a really effective one. But these oils, what these do is these are soothing the skin and helping the skin to heal itself from any damage. And so it's been really effective. Obviously, this nappy rash cream hasn't been available for very long, so we used to use lavender and tea tree in the coconut oil, and it was so effective to just get rid of any nappy rash overnight. And so we were able to clear some quite severe nappy rash overnight, literally from one day to the next. So do use, and we usually have a little glass jar. I had 1 little glass pot, the mini jam jars. That was my nappy rash cream for in my bag, and then I had another 1 little glass jar at home. In terms of cost, it's super cheap to make, and just convenience, it was phenomenal. The other thing just with this one that I couldn't use my nappy rash cream for, this cream can also be, it's got zinc oxide in there. So for those of you who've looked into natural sun protection, zinc oxide is a great reflective barrier for the sun, so actually you can use that for a double use as well. So that's a really, really good way to use that. Now here's some of the resources that I would point you towards. This one particularly, this was my my Bible during pregnancy. So she is a midwife. Stephanie Fritz is a midwife, so she's worked with thousands of women during pregnancy and birth and with their babies to support them using essential oils in every part of the journey. And so that's really, really, again, empowering to be able to know that this is real information from real women who have used them and have had success with them. And I think that's what I liked most about it, is I don't necessarily want research, because there is very little research with pregnancy because it's unethical, much less with babies. So real pregnant women using oils is what allows you to get the evidence as well. And so this guide is phenomenal. It goes through each trimester, what the things that you come across in each trimester and which oils you can use, as well as some support for your baby. This book here, which is a general guide, also has a section all about pregnancy and babies as well. So that's a really good guide. And actually this one here, the Essential Life one, is a guide for everything. So it's not just for pregnancy and babies. So that they're the main resources. You can get both of them on Amazon, but you can also get them from Essential Oil Supplies. And there's a discount code for all of our team. And that's Adore Oils, that it gives you a discount of 5% from Essential Oil Supplies as well. So you can definitely get those. I would recommend getting those books. Now, I wanted to just share very briefly, for those of you who do have an account already, which I think is most of you, is that if you are ordering oils, there's 2 ways of doing that. And I wanted to share some of the best ways of doing that. So I am just going to pause for a second and just check in on the chat and see if there's any questions. If you do have any questions along the way, do pop them in the chat, and then I can definitely answer some of them. So I'm just going to share the different ways of ordering, because that's usually the next question that comes up. So there's 2 ways of ordering. You've got your standard order, which is the blue order, and then your loyalty rewards order or loyalty rewards program, which is your LRP order, and that's the purple way of ordering. And so I just wanted to highlight a few key details about that. So with the loyalty rewards program, it allows you to collect points over time. So that allows you to then, so it's kind of like these ones that we're used to, you know, the Tesco Club card, Nectar card. But just to give you a little bit of context, for every £100 we spend at Tesco, we get £1 back to spend using our club card points. If it's in Sainsbury's, then that would be 50p back to spend, and in Boots, it's quite good, we get £4 back to spend. So you can kind of get an idea of where we're at in terms of return. With doTERRA, we start off at 10% back. That means that's £10 back at the very beginning, and that increases all the way up to £30 back for every £100 spent. So I hope that gives you a little idea of why we recommend whoever is ordering use the purple way, not the blue way, because this allows you to collect points and this one doesn't. You get your 25% discount because you've got a wholesale membership, but you don't get any other rewards for it. So this highlights a little bit about those rewards. So you've got at the beginning, just keeping your points is just so what the LRP is a monthly wellness box that you customize each month. So you decide what you would like each month, and then you get your monthly wellness box, and then you can enjoy them for however long that they last. And then next month you will edit it so that it's what you need and or would like for that month. There's no minimum spend. As long as you are doing something, there's no number that it has to be. As long as you're ordering something, then you keep your points and you keep your percentage. And if you are doing 50 PV, which is roughly between 40 and 50 pounds, then you are increasing your percentage back every 3 months. So if I'm doing 3 months over 50 PV, then I will then move up to 15% back in points. And then I'll go up to 20% back in points, and so on, all the way up to 30. And then you've got here, this level here, 125 is what also allows you to get the product of the month. So just to give you a little bit of context as to how you can best use your account and really get the most out of it, because you definitely get more oil for your money by getting points back, of course. So just again to give a little bit more in terms of what that means. So over the course, I worked this out because I'm a bit of a maths geek. I was a maths teacher before. And so if you're doing 50 PV order over the course of a year, you end up with about £100 to spend at the end of the year. So it's a pretty good return for you to buy the things that you would like anyway and just have these free points to spend. You can see how that jumps up. Of course, it's double if you're doing 125. And you can see 260 if you're doing 125 plus you're getting that free product every month as well. So there's quite a few privileges for using that purple way, the loyalty rewards way of ordering. These are some of the exclusive kits that are available. Tummy support is a brilliant one that's particularly relevant to you, but also the lifelong vitality pack, as I mentioned. This is the one that's only available as a trio pack on loyalty rewards program. And so this is a great pack. Now, what I recommend is if you focus on the things that you're aiming for. So if you're looking to get better sleep because you're not sleeping, or for your baby, like I think one of you mentioned, then maybe you'd go for a calm and harmony. This is a whole bunch of oils that are all about calm, sleep, rest. And so then you can get that, but you wouldn't get that every month because you don't need that every month, because these will last for a really long time. And then you'll edit it for the following month. So you can then focus and kind of look at what's available and what's best for you. And your enroller, the person who invited you to the oils, will be able to help you with that. So just wanted to give you a little bit of context to that. I'm not going to go on to children. So I'm just going to stop sharing my screen and just pause to answer any questions anyone has. So I'm going to stop the live and say thank you for joining us if you joined us live on Facebook. And I will